If it's in a word or it's in a look, you can't get rid of the Babadook. If you're a really clever one and you know what it is to see, then you can make friends with a special one, a friend of you and me. His name is Mister Babadook, and this is his book. A rumbling sound, then 3 sharp knocks. Babadook, dook, dook.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff.
This week we are talking about the incredible 2014 masterpiece, I'm using big words here, The Babadook. And let's just talk about this movie. I've seen it before, and I watched it again last night, and I feel like I've watched it for the very first time, because I realized, and Sydney and I were talking about this, that when I watched this in 2014, I was just a young babe who had not opened her eyes to the world and had never experienced anything bad. And now I'm 2020, Monica, and there's been some shit, and God, it hit hard, and I was emotional. It was an emotional film. Holy shit. What did you guys think?
So I watched it when it first came out and didn't remember almost anything from it. And watching it, I was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. The sounds in the background is what just really did. And I completely forgot what the Babadook actually looked like other than the meme, the cartoon meme. I had no idea what he actually looked like.
He's very handsome. He's beautiful in many ways.
He's a nice looking thing.
Oh my God, I just realized you were talking about the hunky husband. I thought you were just talking about the Babadook.
Oh no, I was talking about the Babadook. I was not talking about the hunky husband. I was not at all talking about the hunky husband, but the husband is hunky.
I'm so glad we are starting this episode off all on the same page. I actually only knew what the Babadook looked like because all I had seen were the gay Babadook memes and that tweet about somebody who went to a Halloween party dressed in full costume as the Babadook, but nobody else there was dressed up.
Oh my God.
So that was all that I knew about the Babadook before we watched it yesterday. And so I have to say, did not know anything about what I was getting into. But I did really enjoy it. And I was genuinely scared. And I got like sustained chills at one point. And we kind of were chatting about it while we were watching yesterday. But this is the first like legit scary movie that we watched for the pod so far.
Oh yeah, the other stuff that we've gone through so far, like Love Scream. Yes, I did jump a little bit in all 4 of those movies, but this is like a nonstop horror show, but like in the most insidious way. Like it gets under your skin. Like I got like nasty chills like 25 to 30 times, and I was very unhappy. But you know, enjoying myself, I guess, still.
Mm-hmm.
This movie, kind of like The Shining or Rosemary's Baby, just has that weird spooky that stays with you long after the movie is over.
Yeah, it's they do more subtle horror where like it just slowly is creeping up and you don't realize it. And yeah, there's some like jump scares. Yeah, the Babadook jumps out of the ceiling. Yeah, the Babadook makes her crash a car. Yeah, there's all these things that you see. But like the creepiest part is like when you can like feel his specter like around and you don't see him at all. Like, oh God. It's genius.
Honestly, one of the creepiest parts for me was all the bugs and all the bug sounds that come with the Babadook. Like, ugh,
no.
I didn't like it. I mean, I liked it in that it was genuinely scary and it added to the atmosphere of the movie, but I didn't like it, and that it really upset me. I just the bugs in the car in particular, I did not care for because I've had a minor ant infestation in my car, like comparatively very easy to deal with. I was only like an hour away from my home, and it was in high school, and my car was parked, so I got in, freaked out, got out of the car, called my parents, and then let them drive an hour to me and deal with it. But to but to put myself in her shoes in that moment with the bugs just like crawling everywhere in the car, and you just are in that position, and she's driving, so she can't just hop out, and she's got also a child to be responsible for. I just ugh, ugh, ugh.
No, it's just a big no. And I just also felt so bad for her after she was dealing with the bugs crawling out of the wall behind her refrigerator, and then she gets surprised by Australian social services. And she's like, "Oh, sorry, I was dealing with all these bugs." And they were right behind the fridge, and they walk up, there's nothing there. I'm like, "Oh god, this woman is breaking down and we need to give her some help, please."
I don't know what would be worse, walking in and finding, oh God, why are there so many bugs in this kitchen? Or being like, oh, is this lady kind of cuckoo for just imagining all of these bugs in her kitchen?
Oh god. And they're like, "I guess we've got you at a bad time." And I was like, "That was kind of clear from the get-go, so thank you."
That was so funny. Oh my God.
Oh wait, let's just talk about though, like Amelia, the main character. First thing I thought when I saw her come onto the screen is great hair. Second thing I thought, I need a cool flowy white nightgown. Third thing I thought, oh, I already have one. Monica, stop trying to buy things. Those are my immediate reactions.
Whoever plays Amelia deserved an Oscar. Are you kidding me? This was such a good, viewing experience.
Oh, for sure. Her name's Essie Davis, and apparently she was another student at the same school where the director went to for film school, and she's incredible. I don't know if what other stuff she's been in, but goddamn, I'd support it.
Yeah, she was amazing. I also thought the little boy was like incredibly good. You really run the risk with child actors sometimes, especially with spooky things where it's like obviously they're kids, so there's only so much nuance they can put in a performance anyway, but also you're like, what do I tell this child about this film so that they can even be like playing the right emotion? And I thought they did a really good job, which is funny because IMDb trivia said actually that anytime the mom is like yelling at the son Samuel, and you just see her, it's because like the kid isn't actually there. She didn't want to actually traumatize a child in order to make this film.
That.
And when you see like his upset, scared, reacting faces, it's because she was saying to him things like, "I'm gonna throw all of your Legos in the river." And so you can imagine the heart-rending terror that would come with such a declaration.
I mean, for a 6-year-old boy, Legos are everything, and so that would have been nightmarish.
Yeah, but I thought it was incredible. And I thought it was really well cast especially for being such a small cast. Like even the aunt and the cousin, I thought did a good job. The cousin was perfectly cast because you do want to push her out of a treehouse.
Oh my god, Ruby deserved that so hard. You just don't tell someone that they suck and that's why their dad died because he never wanted to meet him. Like, that's so mean. I was like, I want to punch her.
Oh, she 100% deserved to be pushed. And also, WTF is Claire doing for like raising her daughter to speak to people like that?
Yeah. Claire just seems like she sucks though, like all around. Like she's like, "Oh, you know what, Amelia? I'm kind of done with your grief and I need you to get your shit together. Like, please kindly shut the fuck up."
Yeah, I definitely put Claire in the Dumb Bitch Awards section of my notes. I don't know if she'll be my final nomination yet. We'll see how the rest of this convo goes. But I also have weird, complicated feelings about her because it was like we're just seeing these few days, and it's kind of clear on some level that she had tried to get Amelia to talk about things, and Amelia was really resistant, just like with Mrs. Roach, the neighbor. But then also Amelia is like, literally, Claire, you only ever speak about yourself, and I am sick of it. And so I was like, okay, maybe Claire just sucks.
I think she just sucks. Also, like, just judging by her group of friends who were all maybe identical quadruplets. Like, they all look the exact same. And that was actually intentional, apparently, with the clothing. Like, they're all wearing, like, navy blue or black or something like that. And probably all those, like, nasty to the knee brown mom boots, too, which I have a pair of. So, like, not total shade. But, and also, like, apparently I didn't notice this, all the little girls were wearing pink, all the little boys were wearing blue, and that was all to make Amelia look all the more, like, not fit in, because she's wearing, like, a pink dress or something, and she doesn't fit in with the moms at all. But I loved that scene, even before Ruby got yeeted out of the treehouse. I loved when Amelia just, like, shat on that mom. What is the quote? I have to find it. Oh yeah, the mom is like, tell me about it. I don't even have time to go to the gym anymore. It's ridiculous. And she had just been talking about how she, like, works with disadvantaged women. And Amelia comes in and she's like, that's a real tragedy, not having time to go to the gym anymore. How do you cope? You must have so much to talk about with those poor disadvantaged women. Oh, read her rights.
Ruined her life with that
Oh,
one right there.
An absolute burn. I will say,
absolute.
though, during that scene, Claire had one line that I really loved, which is when Ruby opens one of her presents and it's a doll that she already has. The mom is just like, it's a twin. They'll go shopping together. Like, get over it. And that made me laugh.
Yeah, just like her and her friends. They're all twins and they all look the exact same, and that's fine.
Yeah, there was just so much to unpack with this film, though, and it doesn't necessarily fit into our normal categories. Like, we could talk about our favorite death. I did jot something down just in case somebody asked me, but the only death that we really see on screen is the poor little pup. And the only other deaths that are implied are I'll save mine just in case we do want to know. But the only other one is the husband, and then that's not going to be anybody's favorite either. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, I loved that part actually. That was great, super fun. No, horrifying, so sad, so sad. Especially when the Babadook, like, reenacts it and his head just, like, slices in half. I was
Oh my
like,
God.
no, cool.
That was
That was fun.
So intense. I was not expecting it at all.
Okay, well, now we talked about it. I want to know. There's only 3 deaths. Tell me what, or 2 deaths. What is this other death that is your favorite death?
Chelsea, you have to let your fans know.
Let us know.
It's the implied the implied death of the worms that she feeds to the Babadook at the end.
Chelsea!
I like it because she's feeding him. She's taking care of him, that's nice.
Okay, cool.
They
We'll
died
get
for
to
a
ending
reason,
again.
unlike the dog,
Oh my god, the dog. I was sitting with my dear little BB, who is my dog that I am petting right now because he keeps crying. And I was, like, so upset with that. I was just like, she goes into Babadook mode for, like, 1 second, looks at him, and she's like, it's time to die.
Ugh. Yeah, I didn't like it, but it was almost a relief when it happened, because as soon as there was the storybook where she Babadooks the dog, I was waiting for it the whole rest of the time, and I really hated that I knew that it was coming. And so once it could finally just be over, I was like, okay, at least I don't have to worry about this anymore.
Yeah, it's really sad. It's very rare for any dog that is introduced into a horror film to survive. Except Sydney pointed out a good thing. Whose dog survived?
Sydney's dog in Scream 3 survives, mostly because Sydney's dog in Scream 3 is not a part of the plot at all. But
Exactly.
that's fine. The dog still survives.
If your dog will survive if you send it to a very well thought out, very well regarded pet setter during the main gore of the film. So Sydney had been through it 2 times before. She knew what to do. She's like not getting little Sparky, maybe that's its name, involved in this bloodshed.
His
Huh?
name was Cherokee.
It's
The
Cherokee.
name was Cherokee?
Yeah, the name was Cherokee.
Oh, look at you with
Sydney's
your
so
fun
great.
facts. Your
Look at
true
Sydney.
knowledge.
Real Sydney and movie Sydney coming in hot with good knowledge and great dog names. Incredible.
What was this dog's name? Bugsy? Didn't love that.
Maxie, I thought.
Where did I get Bugsy from?
You were like fixated on bugs in this film. It's like
Maybe.
not that big
Oh
of
my
a
god.
part.
Oh my god. Actually, now it really upsets me that you just said that. What if that's true?
I think this triggered, like, I think you might have been like deeply traumatized by that ant incident that you mentioned earlier. Maybe this is something to discuss.
I don't know, because sometimes crickets get in my apartment and I'm just like, ugh, this cricket's in my apartment, and I just put it outside. So
I'm terrified
Crickets
of
are
crickets.
different.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Crickets absolutely scare me. I had one in my house one time, and I was on the phone with my mom for 2 hours trying to get her to work my nerve up enough to kill a cricket.
You know what? I'm not that scared of crickets, but I will give you any bug that can jump large distances at any moment. No. Big no. Big no. Like
No.
jumping spiders, absolutely fucking not. That's going to be a no from me.
at least the bugs in this movie just crawled, you know? That's
Yes.
something.
Oh
Or
yeah, because if
slithered
they
like
were
the worms.
moving at an alarming speed, it would be too scary.
No, we can't have that on top of literally everything else in this absolute horror show.
And then all like the cicada clicking noises and stuff when the Babadook is like coming out and it's on the ceiling and stuff.
Oh,
Also,
God.
the way the Babadook moves kind of is bug-esque.
Like a little
What
cockroach.
I love, so this movie had like a very small budget. It was only like 2 million or something like that, which is like, oh, that's a small budget. That's like if I had $2 million, my God. But anyway, so like they didn't want to do CGI because one, they didn't have a budget, but also it didn't really fit the film. They wanted the Babadook, like in actuality, to kind of feel like the drawing of him from the storybook. And so they did all like stop motion and like claymation animation for Babadook. Like that's why he's so jerky when he moves, because it's literally stop motion. And I love that because I thought it was horrifying.
I love when movie monsters are real or not CGI'd. So a claymation one or a person in a suit that's done really well is such a cool monster. It makes it just so much better.
I love that because I'm such a sucker for like, what is it, FX makeup? SF?
Yes.
No, SFX is that a station on the television? What am I talking about? We're moving on. I love makeup. And yeah, I mean, let's talk about Babadook's makeup. Beautiful. That pallid face, the dark shadows that he went in for the contour. I loved that on him. He looked beautiful with the top hat. Very complimentary. 10 out of 10.
Did y'all notice that the Babadook and Sam have the same weird, creepy teeth?
No.
Oh my god, I did. It was just like, oh god, because like he's 6, so he still has like a bunch of his tiny little baby teeth that kind of look a little spiky, and the Babadook also has the exact same teeth.
Runs in the family.
It must. And
is Babadook a baby? Are those just his baby teeth, and they will fall out soon, and he will get big, beautiful teeth? Maybe that's why he's so upset. He's teething.
Oh, that makes sense.
No, that's not it. Okay, something else that I really liked about this movie, and I read a little bit more about it, like with this article. It was Rolling Stone did a good article about this with the director. But they just show like the true horrors of parenting in this movie, and like the beginning of the movie isn't that scary, but it was horrifying to me because I was like, God, having a child seems like a nightmare. Like I literally turned to Sydney while we were watching it, and I was like, First, I was like, I'm so glad I have an IUD. Actually, no, I didn't say this to you. I wrote it down because I wanted to say it on the pod. I thought, I'm so glad I have an IUD. And then I thought, and I said out loud, this movie makes me want to get my tubes tied. So,
He did say that. Can
Yes.
confirm.
Yeah, I mean the for me, sure, the car crash weird dream sequence in the beginning, unnerving, but the first scary moment is when she was in bed with her son and the kid was just like strangling her in his sleep. Didn't like that. Didn't care for it at
what the
all.
hell? He's a bad cuddler. He is like the worst cuddler I've ever seen. Like leg over her, like caressing, massaging her throat. Like no.
Hated
Later
it.
on in the movie, he's got his whole hand clamped on her ear while she's trying to sleep.
And you can tell she hates him touching her.
Yeah, I mean, as the movie went on, he somehow got better for me. And I don't know if that's because I hadn't seen the movie. And so in the beginning, when he was this terrifying little sleeper, I was like, he's gonna be the Babadook. Like, I didn't know where things were going yet. You know what I mean? I was like, is he gonna be a possessed child? Like, is he the monster? Especially he had all these weapons in the beginning. Like, I didn't realize he was
God.
Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone. I thought he was maybe the monster.
Oh, yeah. I can't blame you for that. There's a part in the beginning where he just has access to a saw and he's sawing wood to make that catapult. And I was like, Mother, I know you've got a lot going on, but we lock the saws away from the child.
I mean, okay, I have to say, kudos to this tiny little engineer baby. He made a crossbow, he made a catapult. He didn't have to do much work on his own for the little firecracker things, but he put them to good use. You know,
Innovative, very smart.
he's got a lot. He really earned. If he and Macaulay Culkin went toe to toe, I don't know who'd come out on top. Is all I'm saying.
Ooh, wow.
Oh, it would definitely be Macaulay Culkin.
Macaulay Culkin is better under pressure because he improvised all of that, whereas like Samuel in the Babadook, you know, these weapons were clearly a longer time in the making. So he doesn't have, I would say, the creativity within grasp yet, but also Home Alone is maybe he's a little older, you know.
Yeah.
Give Samuel like 3 more years and they'll be ready to really face off.
Samuel's only 6 years old, you know, for a novice troublemaker. He's doing a great job of upsetting everyone and, you know, shooting darts at people, which is impressive.
And he can climb so high on that swing set jungle gym thing. That also
I thought he was
very
going
scary.
to like break an arm
Yes.
or something. I was just like, oh, is he gonna die? Why is he up there?
His core strength must be incredible that he had the balance to be on that high beam. Like, put that boy in gymnast school. Is that what it's called? Gymnast school. Take him out of his normal school and put him in gymnast school.
Maybe he
because
was
he's
in
got
gymnast
it.
school at the end. Like, we don't know much about the school he ended up in other than he's very happy there. It could be for gymnasts.
I think that it is now canon that he went to gymnast school.
Monica, this is your first fanfic moment.
Oh my God. Wow. Thank you. I'm going to need you to ghostwrite it for me though. So
Okay.
thanks. Oh man. But yeah, I also just love that there's some quote that I read that this movie, the director really thought that she was going to get a lot of flack from like viewers about the way that that Amelia like mothered Samuel and like her shortcomings and that sort of thing. So she was expecting people to be like, oh, "This is a horrible portrayal," blah 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 blah. But apparently, people like really liked it because they loved to see like someone actually having those same struggles that they do. Maybe not to the same exact degree, but yeah, I thought it was like just the exasperation on Amelia's face. Like she has such an expressive face. Also, her hair, I feel like just like got bigger and bigger as she got more and more stressed, and it was really well done.
Her hair was perfect the entire movie. It always looked nice, even when she looked crazy. Her hair was just so lovely.
Wonderful. I need to know what shampoo she used. Probably no shampoo. She's probably co-washing.
She's gotta, keep her errands and her chores low. She's got a lot on her plate already. She just doesn't have time for that shampoo life.
No one does. And it strips your hair of its natural oils. And she doesn't have time for that either. But anyway, okay, let's talk about a character who I feel many ways about. What did you guys think about Robbie?
Who is Robbie? Is that the guy from her work?
Yeah.
I don't know people's names.
It's okay. He's like one of the only men in the whole thing. So
Okay,
he's that one.
Here's what I liked about Robbie. She didn't seem to mind his kitchen joke. I didn't like it about. I don't know if it was like woman in the kitchen or if it was like a make me a sandwich. I don't remember what it was. Other than I was
It
like,
was
ugh.
woman in the kitchen. She's like, oh, like he was like, oh, look, you're in the kitchen where you ought to be, or something like that. And
Yeah.
I was like, immediate, like, fuck this guy. I wrote
Oh,
that down. I was like,
Death to
he's
all
canceled.
men who say things like that. Death to all men.
Just generally.
Just generally.
Yeah.
Oh God. Hard pivot. BB's in the room. He can't hear that. BB's a little boy.
Yeah, cover BB's ears. But I did like, I thought it was fine or whatever when he came over when he thought Sam was sick and he like brought presents and he like generally wanted to be helpful. But what I really liked about him is that he never came back after that. Because I really thought he was gonna be part of the like happy ending at the end where it's like she's got things under control now and she's dealing with her grief and she's feeding worms to her husband and her son's there too. And I thought it was gonna be like she's got her husband and her boyfriend, you know what I mean?
And
I'm glad
like, oh look, she's got a man, so she's got it together. Hate that.
I'm glad that he just never circled back.
Yeah, I mean, he was a sweetheart, and I'm really glad he covered her shift that one time and brought her flowers at a very inconvenient time. But I was happy to never see him again. But damn, did he want her bad. It was so clear. I was like, you're trying a little bit too hard, sir. I need you to slow it down.
Yeah, maybe don't show up at your coworker's house uninvited, just like generally speaking as a rule.
I would agree. I try not to do that, but sometimes you just can't. It can't be helped. But he really should have known boundaries. She's got a child. She's got stuff going on.
Yeah, she got enough uninvited gifts throughout the course of this movie. Like
Jesus.
When you have a Babadook book show up on your doorstep, you don't need anybody bringing any other things by that you didn't ask for.
Seriously. Oh God. I just loved the book in general too. Like mostly like the drawings were beautiful. But okay, let's just talk about how the little boy, Samuel, brings out the book at the very beginning. And she's like, where did this come from? And he's just like, the shelf? Like, no, we need more than that.
Don't worry about it.
Like, this is alarming. This is obviously handmade from the get-go. Like, is this child receiving gifts from strangers? No. There are many questions to be asked, but I know that Emilio's got a lot going on, so I get that it flew under the radar. But I will say that I was obsessed with this book and would love a copy because it was a pop-up book, and I love pop-up books. That's something right in my reading level, and it's really nice for me.
They did actually sell copies of the book, is the thing.
I missed it, though.
I know. On IMDb, it said that they had a campaign where you could buy a copy of the Babadook pop-up book for $80, which I think is a very reasonable price. And they did like signed copies for the first 2,000, but they ended up selling almost 10,000, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But another fun fact about the book itself is the illustrator. I don't know how to say their name, and I don't know their gender identity or pronouns or anything because their name is just Alex Juhaj. I don't know, something like that. But it was the same illustrator who did the opening credits for United States of Terra. If you've ever seen United States of Terra, there's like a very cool also pop-up book sequence that like introduces all of her different alter identities in United States of Terra. And so it was very cool to see that it was the same person and to see like all the work that went into it. Every page was like single-handedly crafted and painted, all of this stuff. They like really focused on making pop-up effects that were practical and were like genuinely happening on screen. But it had to be like creepy, but it also had to work in real life. You know what I mean? Just a lot of work went into that, and God, it's so cool. But I don't know that I would want to own one of the books because that feels like inviting evil into your life. I feel like Sydney is the kind of person who would buy a Babadook book, though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I would have one in a heartbeat. I might be looking online right now of where
Oh
I
my
can
God.
get one.
I just feel like I love you so much, but I'm very afraid to ever go to your house because I do feel that there are cursed objects there.
Oh, yeah. She's a maximalist of cursed objects. Like, there's like taxidermy and things that aren't taxidermy too, but there's a lot of taxidermy.
Taxidermy,
I
I'm
like
fine
dead
with.
things.
It's like things that have been hexed probably that I don't know how I feel about.
She doesn't fuck with
What
that
can I-
bad energy though, you know? You just do your own like anti-hex. What am I saying?
I don't know. I've got some old Valentine's cards framed from the 80s that I fully believe are cursed. So,
Okay, but you have piqued my curiosity now, so I will have to come over.
Do you do you have like a Ouija? Is it Ouija or Ouija? I'm so sorry. I never say this word out loud. Ouija. Do you have a Ouija board? Have you ever done that?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
I like refuse.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not gonna open that door.
Oh my God, I don't want to talk about this
No,
anymore.
we're not doing it. Don't worry, Chelsea. We can like band together and never do that. So don't worry.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to have the discourse about would I Ouija or wouldn't I Ouija because I think it's one of those things everybody needs to decide for themselves in the moment, just like what feels right. But I definitely don't want to hear about any confirmed Ouija workings as we're discussing this very scary movie because there was already a lot that got to me. Like bugs aside, there were so many things. Like, okay, the Babadook went in her mouth at one point, and then she kept like rubbing at her jaw the whole rest of the movie, and then she pulled out a tooth.
Oh my God. That whole scene, because that scene, I've just rewatched it like literally right before we started this. She literally like snaps poor little Maxie's neck and she just throws him on the ground and then immediately rips her tooth out. Like one-two punch. Like what?
And I didn't understand what was happening at first because I was like, she keeps rubbing her jaw because the Babadook went into her mouth. The Babadook is in her mouth. I don't know. Like,
the Babadook lives in her back molar.
I mean, I buy it.
I'm interested now. That makes sense.
What is it with you and molars?
I like teeth.
I just made her a pair of molar earrings. Literally gave them to her 2 days ago. So this is a theme.
And I also have like 3 pairs of human teeth earrings too, like real ones.
God, Jesus Christ.
This is one more example of Sydney's cursed corner.
I found my wisdom teeth that I got removed the other day at my house in my childhood bedroom. And also my mom kept every single baby tooth I ever lost. So maybe I should make them into a beautiful crown or a necklace.
Oh, make a necklace of it.
Jesus Christ.
My mom lost a gold filling one time, like a cap, and it fell out, and I turned it into a ring.
Oh, what? That's sick. That's actually pretty sick. That's
Yeah,
super
I don't
cool.
like your guys' other teeth things, but it's like you're not gonna waste good gold,
Yeah, that's high quality gold.
I'm not gonna waste mouth gold.
Well, I don't like that you called it mouth gold.
No, me neither.
Okay, what was your favorite scene in this movie?
That's so hard. There's so many. Oh, okay. I think I know. Like the scariest scene for me, I'm going to take it that way, is when she's laying in the bed Oh, and this is right before the scene we were just talking about. She's laying in her bed and she hears this like scratching 3 times on the door. And she's like, "Oh my God, it's the Babadook." This is her. She doesn't say that, but she's thinking that. That would really ruin it. And so she goes to the door, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And then she lets in Maxie, and I'm like, "Oh, it's Maxie. Haha, everything's fine." And then she gets back in bed, and the scratch happens again immediately, and I'm like, "No, it is the Babadook." And then he comes in the room, and the best part is this is right before he goes in her mouth when she's under the cover. And I loved every part they did under the covers. I loved the way they filmed those. And you can just hear him go, Babadook, Dook, Dook. And she opens the cover and then he goes in her mouth. Horrifying. Nightmare. Worst. Beautifully done.
I gotta say though, when you were saying that she was in her bed, I thought you were gonna talk about a different scene, scary for a completely different
How?
reason, where she's breaking out her it looked like a very ancient vibrator to me. It looked like an old phone on a fax machine, kind of.
Sexy.
Yes, and she's just like a single woman trying to be an adult in her own home. And then her
A single
I
woman.
wrote in my notes, is the Babadook gonna fuck her? Because I was very afraid.
Oh no. Oh no. She's just a horny woman who happened to see a phone sex ad and just thought it's time.
It's time. But the Babadook is her husband, so if they did have sex, that's within the bounds of marriage, baby. Like that's their business. But what was scary about that scene is that she's like so close and then her son interrupts her, which is first of all, the horror of being caught in such a position. Absolutely no. And
Never having
then
kids.
for her, the horror of never getting a moment alone. She's like almost never alone in her bed in this movie. And then the 1 second she's like, this is my window of opportunity, it's ruined. And then, her son is just like, I'm in bed with you now for the rest of the night. And it's just ruined. Immediately followed by her hearing a noise. And you're like, in your head, you're like, is it the Babadook coming to
To fuck her.
maybe or to kill her? I don't know. I wasn't sure at that point anymore, but she's just like, yes, I heard a noise, no, I don't care, I'm going to sleep. And she just like pulls the covers over her head and just like passes out.
Oh my God. Okay. One thing that you said in this, and we'll circle back to this later, but I have a problem with you saying that the Babadook is her husband, and we need to have not a fight, but a discussion.
Okay.
But first, I want to hear what Sydney's favorite scene is.
Oh, my favorite scene is when she gets 3 knocks on the door and she goes and looks and nobody's there. And then she turns back in and then it's like 3 loud bangs at the door. And she opens the door and the book that she threw away and ripped up is back. And she takes it in and she's reading it. And this is where there's more things added to the story. And we see that, she kills the dog. She could kill her husband, like not her husband, her boyfriend, her
baby.
son, her baby.
Not her boyfriend. Big distinction.
I mean, he's getting in the way a lot, just like a boyfriend.
Was there like a deleted scene where she kills Robbie? Like, that would be fine.
That's why he doesn't come back.
Yeah, that's why he doesn't come back. He gets eaten.
Here for it. But then, I don't know, the music and the animation, not the animation, the illustration just was so spooky.
Oh God. The last part of that, the last page where she slits her own throat, and then that's like the only color part of the entire book, and the blood comes down. Oh, how would you even do that in reality with a pop-up book? I'm very impressed.
Also, fuck Claire again for when Amelia's like, I think somebody's stalking us, and she's just like, whatever, I can't help you with this. Fuck Claire.
Yeah. Things
Big
didn't
fuck
go.
you to Claire.
That was a rough portion of the movie where Claire was like, your son broke my daughter's nose, so even though we're a family and you are so clearly having a crisis, I'm outie. And then also she went to the police for help, and they were just like, no. But also there was like a Babadook trench coat in the background hanging on the coat rack, like,
And it,
bleh.
and it wasn't even just the trench coat. Like, I just rewatched that scene too, and it has the hands and everything. Also, a
Yeah.
weird thing with that scene is like the main cop has like a lot of under eye shadow bagging happening. He looked like he was in a Tim Burton movie. Like, he had the whole like gaunt thing going on. I'm like, is he a corpse? Like, or is he just severely overworked? Like, what is happening here?
I did not
Well,
notice that.
okay, wait. The scariest part for me, I think, is when Samuel walks in to find his mom, and she's just like sitting in the tub. And I thought she was sitting in an empty tub at first, but then she stands up and she's all wet. And then she picks her son up and puts him in the tub with her. And then they sit down in the water, and he's like, it's cold. And the water's like so dark, and you don't
Why
know
is
if
it so
like there's
dark?
something going on, or if it's like dye shedding from her clothes, or like a dirty bathtub, or got just like that visual was incredibly unnerving to me. Didn't unsubscribe.
Yeah, no, that was super, super grody. And, God, it's just another reason why I haven't had a bath in 10 years. Because it seems like you got to do a lot of work. I take showers, let's be clear. But I feel like there's
Monica's
too
like,
much
I haven't
potential. I
bathed in
haven't
years.
bathed. I haven't bathed in years. That's why I'm wearing a wig right now. I'm wearing a wig right now, by the way. Because the hair's just gotten to a point where I have to cover it up. No, I bathe regularly,
Well,
just so the
that's
listeners
because
know.
you're stripping your hair of its natural oils, just like you said earlier. Clearly this is now a hair podcast.
It is. It is. I know a lot about it. I don't. But no, there's a lot of work to be done with upkeeping a bath, and she's obviously not been doing that. Which, like, I understand it's the last thing on your mind, but don't put your son in poop water. What is that? Why is it brown? It's not the way it should be. There's just a lot on her mind.
Can
Okay.
we circle back now to what you were saying about the husband Babadook not being one and the same?
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, and this kind of goes into the whole like. This is a deep movie, y'all. This is a deep movie, and I didn't realize how deep it was when I was a young baby girl in 2014 who had never experienced anything, loss, nothing, had just had a pretty easy time all the time. Since then, my mom died, sorry, sad, and so this movie is 100% an allegory about coping with grief. And the Babadook, for me, and Sydney and I talked about this yesterday, the Babadook is just like, it could be real, but what it is at the end of the day is like a horrific physical manifestation of the grief that she's been suppressing since her husband died 7 years before. Because like he died and immediately she had this child, and it seems like she never really ever coped with it. And now, like, there's a quote earlier in the film where she says, I have moved on. I don't mention him. I don't talk about him. And so that's how she, at the beginning of the film, thinks that coping with grief is. She's like, it's over. It happened 7 years ago. I don't talk about it anymore, so it's not a thing anymore. But that's not how grief is. Like, you do need to talk about it. It doesn't have to be your 24/7 thing that you're crying about, but it's something that's with you all the time. So I just, this movie was so much more powerful to me this time because I'm like, wow, she's literally denying her grief, denying it becoming this evil monster when Samuel's like, this monster is here and it's trying to get us. And then at the end, like, she actually finally confronts her grief when she screams at the Babadook and she's like, get the fuck out. If you touch my child again, I'm gonna fuck you up. That's not the quote. And like literally does that banshee scream. I was like, that's like the catharsis of like actually feeling it. And then I feel like at the end, when Babadook is still like in the house locked in there and she still has to feed it, that's like the reality of grief and like coping with it is like it's still always there. It's still in a back door, like in your mind, and you have to feed it or whatever by interacting with it, not every day like she has to, but at least pretty often. So I was just like beautiful, like, yeah, it is her husband because her husband's the one who died, but like it's more.
I agree with all of that. I totally am on the same page. I kept saying during the Donnie Darko episode, you know, I'm not a mental health professional, but one of my best friends is a mental health professional, and I was chatting with her about this a little bit last night, and I was talking about feeding the worms to the Babadook, and she was like, "No, that's a good thing. It's not weird or scary or creepy because she's like learned how to live with her depression and like the effects of this on her mental health, and those are like medicine essentially, you know what I mean? Like this is her daily task that she does to keep everything in check and in line." And I was like, okay, they are still worms, but I see what you're saying and I support you and I love you.
Yeah, and I also liked because, like, at the beginning of the movie, also with Samuel, like Samuel's going down into that basement, and interacting with all of his dad's stuff and like his music, and I guess he was a violinist, hot, um, and like she gets super mad at him for being in that stuff and like yells at him for like interacting with it, and he screams like he is my father too or something like that to that
Yeah.
effect. And like it seems like she just like has a moratorium on talking about him, on bringing him up and like sharing him with Samuel. But at the end, he's like, "Can I go see the Babadook or whatever?" And she's like, "Yes, when you're older." So it's like she knows that he does have to confront the Babadook, but like maybe not this second because they just got him locked in the freaking closet, like, or not
Once
closet,
he's a
but
little
the
more
basement. Yeah,
tame.
yeah. Once he's a little less, because he is still a spicy boy when she goes down to feed him the worms.
Yeah, there were a lot of really good grief quotes, I thought, throughout the whole film. Like, in addition to the "he's my father, you don't own him," there's a moment where she was talking to her son and she's like, "I'm not gonna die anytime soon," and he's like, "But did you think that about my dad before he died?" And I was like, "Oh, like, oh."
Oh,
Oh, a
You
sting.
know, just like really heartbreaking things that hit you right in your soft parts.
oof.
um and then you get to the moment where she's gone full Babadook and she's like, "I want to make it up to you, Sam. I want you to meet your dad. It's beautiful there. You'll be happy." And I was like, "Oh no," because it's like
No.
that moment where it's preying on all of your worst fears, where you're like, things could be easier if I just don't, you know.
Yeah.
And he broke that moment by just stabbing her, which is not like the preferred
For
course of
him.
action, I don't think, but you know, it
It had
did
to be
shock
done.
the system.
I love that he stabbed her and then he was like, "Sorry, mommy," like right afterwards. "Sorry, I
And then she
stabbed
wakes up
you."
and she's fully home alone in the basement.
Oh yeah, and like before that scene, another great grief moment. Ooh, horrible way to phrase that. When she goes down into the basement and she sees her hot, sexy husband, and he's in a glowing
Dead
light.
husband.
He's beautiful. He seems to be alive, and she goes and embraces him, and she's so happy to have him. And she thinks like, "Oh, I thought you were dead," and then he's like whispering these sweet nothings, and he's like, "I want you to bring the boy, like bring him to me." And you realize that it's the Babadook and not like actually some magical thing where he's come back to life. Like that was a crushing moment as well. Like it
Yeah,
turned from like reunion to like terror.
there's a line in there, and that I didn't appreciate it until later on, obviously, because I hadn't, this was my first time through. But he said, "I think it's going to rain," which is obviously something he said during the real life drive to the hospital where they have the car crash.
Oh my god.
And I didn't get it right away, but I was like, why is that so terrifying? Like, it struck the perfect chord within the movie. It did exactly what it was supposed to do, and then you get it later, and it just, ooh.
Oh yeah, and also that scene where he just like reenacts the entire death. Like, oh my god. I'm not over that still. And then his head gets sliced in half, which we already
Oh,
talked
no,
about.
thank you.
Very sad. Very sad. But okay, let's talk about happier things. Let's talk about the triumphant ending of this movie. Like, I just before we get to the end, like the last scene before they get Babadook in his little basement where he lives now. When she's all tied up and she gets a hold of Samuel's neck, and in his last attempt to not like get killed by his mom, he rubs his little hand on her face, being like, "I love you." Oh, my heart melted and shattered at once.
Sweet
That
Sam.
kid is such a great little actor. Like, I don't know how they made him not scared when he's literally being like strangled in that scene. But I also have to say, another Matthew that we love here on the pod is Matthew Gray Gubler, and this child could play baby Matthew Gray Gubler in an instant. And I demand there be a biopic or biopic, how do you say it, about Matthew Gray Gubler where this child is him as a child. Thank you. That is my pitch.
But this child is now 10.
It can still work. That 10 is a child's age. We got to get on this quick.
Do it right
If
now.
they give it a few more years, he could be teenage Matthew Gray Gubler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's
Any
a lot
age-
of opportunities.
Yeah. Any age Matthew Gray Gubler is a good age.
Yeah, we've got that casting done for whatever age when this movie happens. We're ready.
Okay, so we're going to get to this in a minute surrounding the gay Babadook discourse. But while I was looking for a lot of that, I saw a lot of other discourse on Tumblr and stuff like that about how, like, is this a wholesome ending? Is this a happy ending? Is it just a healthy ending? Is it just better than where we are? Like, what do we think? Is it progress, or is it like she did it? She beat the Babadook, which is her grief. And you know what I mean? Like, how do we feel about it?
I was super satisfied with this ending. Right? Like, it's still there. So, you like always, you are always going to be dealing with your grief. But to me, it just feels like she's managing it.
Yeah.
And that's the best she could do. Like, this woman desperately needed therapy. So I'm hoping that she has gotten herself therapy. She's put Sam back in school. Know what I mean? She's having a birthday party for him on his birth date for the first time. They were able to, when the social workers came back, it was the first time that we hear her acknowledge the death of her husband being on his birthday. And I thought that was a lot of forward momentum for her personally.
Totally. Yeah, like I don't think that it's like I think I felt happy with the ending. It's not like a picture perfect ending, but that's why it's so good, you know? Like it's like we are moving in the right direction and little Samuel is going to gymnast school.
Yeah, I mean, not to be too film school because I did not go to film school, but there were some really good like imagery moments and some like visual metaphors. Like she's growing roses, so she's like putting time and effort and energy into something beautiful, but they're black roses, so it's like not everything is lovely and wonderful.
And they're growing out of the corpse of the dog that she killed.
Yeah, I was gonna say the dog is still dead. But apparently little Samuel can conjure living creatures like a white dove, which is a sign of peace. So
That's good.
that's something.
That magic moment, okay, though, when he did that magician's trick at the end, like, where did this boy get a hold of a live animal? Like,
he conjured it.
Okay. But
Look, the Babadook helped with the magic show. I don't know. The Babadook is gonna graduate from worms one day, and that white dove is gonna be Babadook food.
No, leave them alone. Let them keep their peace. I just thought it was hilarious because I was like, okay, so he doesn't have access to a saw anymore, but he has access to many, many small birds because he must have had to practice this beforehand. Like Amelia, obviously, another reason why it's not a perfect ending, it's not a happy ending. She's still figuring it out. She has to figure out how to keep Samuel away from lots of birds that he is capturing.
Yeah, because it really seemed like she did not expect to see a bird. You know what I mean? So she
Yeah.
didn't know he had that.
And she was not upset in any way. She was like, wow. I would have been like, wow, where did you get a bird?
And also, the bird was not going anywhere. Like, it did not fly away. It just stayed there. Maybe he just has the one bird. It doesn't go
They
anywhere.
needed a new pet, I guess, you know?
Maybe he's going to gymnast school and like bird training school because he's already like a very skilled bird trainer at this young age
Well,
of
the
6.
birds are not real, and they work for the bourgeoisie.
I have heard that, you know.
This is a great moment to pivot. We have to get into not the discourse, but the Baba discourse.
Yes, give me this. Give me
Was
this.
there-
Okay, I know you did a lot of actual
Yeah.
research, and I kind of jumped off of that to look at Tumblr, but I didn't read anything smart or good. So what did you find?
Okay, well, I mean, I feel like I did a lot of research and I had a lot of questions, and then you went on Tumblr and you found the answer. So, like I read like 6 articles, and you just went on Tumblr and you figured it out. But like, essentially, I don't know. I don't feel like I should start it. Like, you know the origin story.
I don't know the origin story. The thing is,
I know the origin story.
Take us on this journey of the Babadook from scary manifestation of grief to political figure to gay icon? Question mark.
Okay. So he escapes the basement. Don't know how, but he's on the run. Where else is an evil, grief, horrible person gonna do? Join the Republican Party. And from there, he works on Trump's campaign and appears at the 2016 RNC because it's the fucking Babadook. And then after he gets Trump elected, he realizes what a horrible mistake he is, and that not even he is that horrible. And so he retreats for a little bit, gathers himself up, and emerges
Reborn.
as the LGBT icon. He realizes what he is, and that is fabulous.
Okay, so before we dive into the Baba discourse about him being a gay icon, I have to say that like Sydney and I feel very strongly about the Babadook already because we saw it and we loved it, but also because in 2016 during the RNC, this meme ran around where like it had just been like horrible person after horrible person after horrible person at the RNC coming up to talk, and there's this meme that just says, "It's the fucking Babadook," and he's like, "Hey!" And that like inspired us so much that our group chat with our other best friend Alex is called "It's the fucking Babadook," and it has been that for what? How many years? 4 years now.
4 years now.
Every time I get a text from you guys on my car, it goes, okay, and we have that scary devil mask as the emoji in the group chat name, so it goes, ogre. It's the fucking Babadook. Ogre has sent you a text. I didn't know until like the other day. Like I don't know if the name was Ogre before, but it's Ogre. The name of that scary devil mask is an ogre, not the normal devil one, the one that's got like black fur around its face.
Oh, yeah, I know what
That
you're
one.
talking about. I'm on the same page now.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, so we've talked about how much this means to us. Now let's get into how Babadook became a gay icon, because it all started on Tumblr, right?
Okay, yes. Here's the thing. As there are a lot of varying reports about what came first. There
Chicken
is
and egg
sort of
scenario.
sort of an apocryphal tale that someone discovered that it had been accidentally placed within the LGBTQ genre on Netflix. That is not accurate. That was a
I really thought
photoshopped
that was
image.
true.
No, it was a photoshopped
That's what
image.
I choose to believe, though.
I mean,
I like-
maybe it happened, but the image that circulated is a fun gag, because they also photoshopped another movie into it, which is Room 237, which is a Stanley Kubrick movie, I believe. And also now I'm very self conscious about the way I just said Kubrick instead of Kubrick. I don't know.
I
So
think
I'm
it's
gonna.
Kubrick, but I like Kubrick, and so it's Kubrick now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna jog past it either way. But so there were two big Tumblr Babadook posts, and one was the photoshopped Netflix screenshot that says, "So proud that Netflix recognizes the Babadook as gay representation." And another was a long conversation between a bunch of different users. One of them, the original poster has the username Instagram, and they just said, whenever someone says the Babadook isn't openly gay, it's like, did you even watch the movie? And then it goes back and forth a lot. And I tried to hunt down all of these Tumblr posts so that I could find the date on them, so I could be like, okay, which one came first? Where did this start? But so many, the way that Tumblr works is people deactivate their accounts all the time. People change their URLs all the time, and they don't always set up like a forwarding page where it goes like, "Oh, I've changed from this to this," and you can like kind of follow it down the rabbit hole. So some things are just gone, lost to the
lost
ages.
to time.
Yeah,
You'll
so I
never
had to
know.
go down like 8 different responses before I found someone whose blog was still in existence with the original URL. And they had a couple different Babadook posts that helped me set up the history. But they contributed to, okay, so the post is like, the Babadook is openly gay, and somebody else says it's canon. He created a pop-up book for himself, the drama of it all. And then somebody else was like, no, it's just her depression. And the original poster was like, yeah, and he was gay. And there's just some fun back and forth. And then someone says the B in LGBT stands for Babadook. Everyone knows this. And that started a whole other chain of discourse because somebody was like, this is bi erasure. The Babadook is gay. Let the B stand for bisexuality. And then this person was like,
God.
I am bisexual. The Babadook is the B. And it's just
As
like
a
this whole thing.
bisexual person, the Babadook is the B, and it's one and the same. It's like they're synonyms. Babadook
Yeah.
and bisexual. Yes.
It's exactly the
Mhm.
same.
Yeah. I identify as Babadook.
Totally. And I personally am not ready to like, self-identify as any particular label yet. But if I had to pick one, it would be Babadook.
I love that for you. Thank you
Okay,
for
so
telling us.
I am a Babadook all day. Babadook
yes.
in the streets, Babadook in the sheets, baby. Let's go.
Okay, but so the B in LGBT stands for Babadook. Everyone knows this. That's the furthest I could go back on the Tumblr chain for that text post. And that was from January 2017. But that same user had reblogged the Netflix photoshopped screenshot in December 2016. So that came first, but it was fake because that Tumblr user who posted it said that they photoshopped it, but they also said they didn't start the gay Babadook discourse because they had another post that said, I'm dying and everyone thinking I started the Babadook being gay thing. It's an honor. I didn't start it, but I just contributed to the meme. So I don't know if like the original the Babadook is gay part of the text post came before December 2016 and then it just got built on to the point where the first dated post I can find is January 2017. Like it's hard to know. It's impossible to know.
I like that. It's part of the lore. It's like, ooh, mysterious. And that makes it, because we can't figure out like where it came from, it makes it seem like everything I just talked about it, Babadook being a manifestation of grief is wrong, and it's just a story about a gay man trying to live his life in the suburbs of Australia.
Yes. But while I was on this person's blog, I did find that there's actually even more Tumblr discourse on this post
Babadiscourse.
where Babadiscourse.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the person said, the original poster said, "We're dead fucking serious. We don't tolerate ambiguity in the Babadiscourse. Get yourself right before you come on here again." And then somebody else said, "Because of him, a dog died, though." And then he said, or I don't want to gender, the person said the dog was a homophobe. And then they said the dog told the Babadook he couldn't openly love the man who captured his heart. Next question. And I was just like, oh my God. And I got in a little too deep for a minute there. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, we'll just never exactly know what came first and where this started, but it has taken over the culture of the Babadook as it should.
Yeah,
and it also
exploded.
yeah, it leads us in our regular "where could this movie be gayer" system to simply conclude, like, well, the Babadook is gay, so it couldn't really get much gayer than that.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, thank God for this edition. Otherwise, there would have been a lot of problems we would have had with the film about it not being gay enough. But Baba himself has done the work for the culture, and we love that.
I will say
He is out and proud.
Yeah, I mean, he could use the word bisexual on film. You know what I mean? Like, there are so many media instances, cultural moments where people are like, I don't like labels. Like in South of Nowhere, just like in everything that had a bisexual character before maybe the 2010s, they were always like, I'm never going to call myself bisexual. I'm just going to say that I don't like labels, which used to really bother me. But now I'm like, well, but I don't want a label. So I can only go with Babadook.
I just love where this went because like it went from like that little Tumblr post to like multiple people, like maybe hundreds of people across the country showing up to Pride as the Babadook. Like it went from a little text post or whatever to literally people showing up in this full costume. And that poor person that Chelsea mentioned who showed up to a costume party and it wasn't a costume party, but they were the Babadook. Like that sucks. That's my fear every year when I go to work on Halloween because I always go full out and I have to sit in the car and be like, Monica, even if no one else is dressed up, you look fucking great and it's fine and get in there. But like, God, that guy or that person just really had a bad day. But some of my favorite choice tweets, there's one that I saw from this someone named Carlos Maza, and it's like, Babadook, I'm a terrifying monster that destroys families that try to suppress me. Gay people. Oh my God, same. Drinks later. And another one that I saw that made, because at first, like, I was really into like how this is a metaphor for grief. After the second watching, and I was like, okay, I wish there had been more discourse about that part of the movie because it's very important. And like it's all been taken away by the Babadiscourse, but I take it all back because I see it now. This was from Wanpa. They said, openly gay and with an affinity for hats and drama, the Babadook was the first time I saw myself represented in a film. And I was like, that's beautiful. Representation is really important, and like it's beautiful to be seen. A man in a top hat who also, every time he's trying to really spook you in the movie, if you notice, he does jazz hands. He's like, I'm gonna be scary now. Here are my big fingers. Like, love that for him. He's got a flair.
Yeah, I have to say I love the degree to which the Babadook is a gay icon has penetrated the cultural sphere, where even people who are being left behind are being told, like, you better run to catch up. Comedian Breckenmeyer, who is in future discussion, Josie and the Pussycat scary movie, he just a few days ago, even, he slipped and he wrote on Twitter, "The Babadook just endorsed Trump." But believe you me, there were people in his responses being like, "The Babadook is a gay icon. He would never endorse any administration with homophobe like Mike Pence."
Yes, thank you. I reject the discourse that he is a Republican. That was just a funny joke, and we've moved past it. It was a joke. That was a joke. The rest of it is true. Babadook is a gay icon. The B in LGBT stands for Babadook. Like, that part's true, but the Republican stuff, false, lies, libel.
Okay, we have a couple other regular segments that we do, and I'm gonna skip to one of them right now, which is, where would Matthew Lillard be in this movie?
Oh, God. I mean, okay, I thought about this just before because I had another thought, but in the end, what I have decided is that I think that I wouldn't want Matthew Lillard to become a part of this film in any way because I loved that it was all people I had never fucking seen before in my life. And it made it feel so much more real because it seemed like everyday people. And if Matthew Lillard had been in there, I would have been so distracted that I wouldn't have been so moved body and soul because I would have been like, oh, Matthew Lillard, you know? So
Sure.
that I don't want him in this one, but I want him to be watching it with me if that's an option. That's my take.
I think he would have made a Fabu Babadook. Just like dressed like we had no idea it was him until the credits.
That's true. He could have been behind it all along. I did write in my notes, the illustration could have looked a little bit more like Matthew Lillard. You know what I mean? Like, just a little bit modeled after Matthew Lillard. That's all I needed.
Yeah, I mean, if I was gonna have him anywhere, I'd need him to be in it for just like 5 seconds, like a little like, oh, fun, Matthew Lillard's here, and then he's gone. So he could have been Robbie for me. That would have been great. There and then gone in 60 seconds, like that's fine. Except he would not have been allowed to say the kitchen joke.
Just cut it from the script.
Cut it. Unnecessary. No need. It didn't add anything. It took away.
Okay, we've just got a few more, and that is Dumb Bitch Award and Knives Out of Fives. I mentioned earlier that in my Dumb Bitch Award notes, I wrote Claire, but I don't know that that is my final nomination. Do you guys have any strong candidates?
Yeah, I have strong feelings. Do you want to go first, though, Sydney?
I'm gonna say fuck Claire's friends.
Ooh.
All of them. They are the dumbest of bitches. Like, and that's it. That's my argument. Fuck them.
Seriously, they're like quadruple. They all look the exact same, and they're all dumb bitches, and we hate them. Canceled.
They just sucked. Like, don't be mean to her.
I know, she's going through a lot. I am gonna say for my dumb bitch award, it's that little shit Ruby. Sorry, Ruby sucks. Ruby's terrible. Ruby said the meanest things to Samuel. Like, who goes up to someone and says, "Your dad hated you, so he died." Like, oh my god. So I was joyous when she broke her nose in 2 places, and good job, Samuel. Great judgment.
Do you think maybe we didn't really see her again after that? So my hope is that she will be a changed girl after that experience. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you have to learn your talk shit, get hit lesson the hard way. And I think breaking her nose in 2 places, it feels like it could be an opportunity for growth. I am hopeful for her.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced, you know, because sometimes talk shit, get hit, people just keep talking that shit, and it's a hard lesson to learn for some.
I feel like Claire's not going to tell her what she did was wrong, so my hopes are not high. But I wish that she will change and not be a horrible person in future.
Yeah, we just have to keep pushing her out of tree houses, maybe.
Yeah, not us, because I don't want to be involved in that, but maybe someone.
I wrote in my notes I was gonna nominate Amelia, the mom, for the moment when she's in the car with the bugs and she's just refusing to hit the brakes for some reason, and is instead swerving all over, because I have been in obviously not a super similar situation, but like in a moment where you're in the car and you're scared that someone is gonna like hit you, and like there's a moment where I thought someone was like running me off the shoulder on the freeway basically, and you do kind of freeze. Like I never hit my horn and your hands just kind of grip the steering wheel, but I did hit those brakes, and so I was like, that's you gotta know how to brake if you're gonna be in the car. But now I feel like maybe it's Robbie for the kitchen joke, That is such a dumb bitch thing to say. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like he thought he was saying it ironically. And there are so many people who are like, I'm gonna make this bad, harmful joke that's gonna piss you off, but because I think that I'm good, everyone will somehow know that I don't mean it. And that I'm making fun of those people. And it's like, okay, but if you are traditionally the kind of person who says that seriously, don't know that you're the one who's allowed to make that joke.
No. Also, you're at work, so don't make that joke at work. The
Yeah.
old folks could hear you. The poor old folks. Let them play bingo and not be upset.
Also, just don't fucking say it.
Yeah, just if you're trying to flirt, think you need to talk to someone else and ask them some questions about how, because you're not doing a good job. Stick to the like taking over her shifts and bringing her flowers and presents for her son. That's nice. But the misogyny jokes, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to just move in. Dumb bitch.
Okay, so has anyone been convinced? Do we have a clear winner here for our award? I kind of feel like they're all equal dumb bitch
Yeah.
levels,
I mean, I feel like we should just cut the trophy. We should pull a Caddy Heron and did I say her name right? Break the crown into many different pieces and give it to all the dumb bitches involved. That was I know her name is actually Katie, but I wanted to call her Caddy to be funny, but it wasn't funny. I'm so sorry.
I mean, my only other solution that I can propose is that we give it to Claire because those are her friends and that's her daughter. You know what I mean? Like, she's the tie that binds.
I'm going to have to agree with you there. That really settles the score for me.
I can do Claire. She
She
sucks.
sucks hardcore.
Oh my
She
God.
sucks so bad.
Congratulations, Claire. You are the dumb bitch.
Yay! Good job.
Okay, so now it's time to do the part of the show that I'm the only one who can say it apparently, but also I just fucked up introducing it, so level playing field. Knives out of 5s. What are we rating this one? I'm so sorry. Who wants to go first?
Okay. I really liked it. For just your background information, this did pretty well with the critics. It only got 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb, but on Rotten Tomatoes, it got 98% from critics, which is pretty stunning. And it only got 72% from the audience. But I'd say overall, those are pretty good numbers. I would probably go a little higher than the IMDb score and the Rotten Tomatoes audience score. I think I would probably give this like a solid 4.5 knives out of 5s, I thought there's not much that I would have changed or that I didn't like. I thought it was sufficiently scary. I thought it was viscerally upsetting. I thought there were moments that were tragic and horrifying on like a normal human level, with normal human parts of life beyond being afraid that you're having like a paranormal experience. I don't know that I'm going to be like driven to rewatch it, which is why I don't think I'd go any higher than that. But I really liked it. So 4.5 knives out of 5s.
Thank you for giving it such a beautiful rating. That was very kind and deserved. Do you want to go next, Sid?
Wow. I gotta go after that. Well, don't expect much. I'm gonna give it a 4. It was haunting and spooky, but it didn't scare me. But I still had a really good time and was very unsettled, but nothing scared me. So it gets a 4 out of 5 knives.
I was deeply upset watching it this time again, 6 years later. And I remember the first time I watched it, I'm pretty sure I watched it by myself, not in theaters, thank God. That would have killed me. But I loved it then. Like I said before, I loved it so much more this time around. I thought that, similar to what Chelsea said, it was smart, it was meaningful, and I just thought that the horror really, for at least for me, got really under my skin, and I've had chill reactions, which I don't really usually have. I thought it was scary in a more real way than what we've watched so far. And I loved his top hat. So I'm gonna give this and the jazz hands. Top hat, jazz hands combo, you can't go wrong. I'm gonna give this my highest score to date. I'm gonna give this one a 4.8213.
Wow.
I don't know.
Oh my
I loved
gosh.
this movie so much, and I think that it's literally a work of art, and I will watch it again and again because I have to watch it with my boyfriend because he still hasn't seen it and I need him to watch it. So great job all around. Give it an Oscar.
I mean, I do feel a little starstruck because you just gave it such a high rating. You know what I mean? I feel like, oh my God, I'm in the presence of a celebrity, which is in this movie. You know what I mean?
This is one of the best scary movies, that's a modern one that I've seen in the last decade, I would say. It stands out for me, and I watch a lot of the new ones, and this one is far and away better than a lot of the things I've seen, especially this year. But yeah, 10 out of 10. We'll watch again.
Next week we've got another modern movie coming up. This episode is dropping on Election Day, which is spooky enough. What is really spooky is where things could potentially go from here. We don't know. We probably won't know by the time you're listening to this episode. We're just going to have to ride it out, which is why we've decided that next we're going to do The Purge.
And I'm so excited. I love the first Purge.
Let's just go to the worst case scenario here. Is this even the worst case scenario? I don't even know, but an open murder night seems pretty bad.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of the Purge anythings, but
Really?
I'm familiar with the concept, and I recently read an alternate universe Purge fan fiction, so other characters from something else in the Purge, and I won't be embarrassed, so don't try to make me feel embarrassed.
Subscribe to our Patreon, and Chelsea will reveal what show. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, I would. It's not my fan fiction. You know what I mean? I'm not going to ever share my genuine, earnest fan fiction on this podcast, but I'll do recommendations,
Oh man, I'm so excited for you to watch this movie. This one, if I recall, because it's been who knows how long. 6 movies worth. How many Purge movies are there now? 5?
3 or 4 at least,
There's a
and
lot.
a TV show that was 2 seasons.
And so many mazes at Halloween Horror Nights. I can't even. But yeah, I really, really liked it. So I'm excited for you to see it. So if you liked what you heard today, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. You can find us at spooky_Tuesday. If you're on Facebook, it's / Spooky Tuesday pod. Also, please follow us on Spotify. Follow the show on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, and leave us a glowing 5-star review if you loved what you heard.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Height, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamra Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamra, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_OMG.
This is what he wears on top. He's funny, don't you think? See him in your room at night?
Mom, does it hurt the boy?